Arsenal crashed out of the Champions League last night. Defeat to Paris Saint-Germain, home and away. Mikel Arteta has a lot of answering to do. And what I'm about to say towards the end of this show may have you ups in arms. Okay, I'm Ty Knight here for TK24 Sports. One thing I want to ask from you today, it's not about liking, subscribing, and turning that notification on, is watch the whole show. Get involved. I need to have a debate with you as I go along with this show. That's how important it is. Okay, Arsenal got knocked out of the Champions League last night with a 2-1 loss at the Parc de France. Arsenal, of course, going into the second leg, 1-0 behind. It wasn't because Thomas Partey didn't play in the first leg. It's not. Thomas Partey played in the second leg and we still lost. So let's just put that one to bed. Arsenal have more weapons in their arsenal to do something. 13 draws in this season, 4 losses is bewildering to me, because how do Arsenal go to Paris Saint-Germain and put that performance in? Okay, they still lost, but still have another thing in their locker. It sounds crazy we didn't score from it, but Thomas Partey can throw the ball like he can throw a spear. I mean, did you know he could do that? But Mikel Arteta knew he can do that. So Mikel Arteta, that's another strike against you. We have so many things that we can do that can make us go from a drawing team to a winning team. This team at the moment in time is a competitive team. It's not a winning team. I'm not that stupid. I'm not that naive, okay? It's a competitive team. We compete now. Again, for the last, let's say, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, we were asking for Arsenal to be a competitive team. We were actually saying we can't see ourselves being a competitive team because Manchester City is just so good. When Mikel Arteta took over, of course, there's a large fan base that was saying, no, I don't like him. I remember being upstairs in my lounge and I was seeing his interview and I was clapping and I was applauding because I was like, that is the sort of manager that we need. Never knew what he could be. But when he finished 8th and 8th, I was thinking, oh my God, Ty, you again. You know, you're so Mr. Positive. What was you thinking? Then we finished 5th and I was like, oh my God. Okay, we're going to come back better for next season because we finished 5th. That should push us on not to finish 5th next year. We should get at least 4th or 3rd. We finished 2nd. I was like, oh, not bad. Season after that, we finished 2nd, almost won the league. Lost it because we lost to Aston Villa, but we lost other games again. But that run-in, we only lost 1 game in that run-in. And then we drew the other one with Manchester City. Annoying. This season, when it really should have came full circle, we lose out on the league because we lose out players for not buying correctly in the summer and then not making up for it in January. Then we get knocked out of the semi-finals of the Champions League and it's like, my God, are we just a competitive team? This is getting frustration now. Because the loyal Arsenal fans who are behind Mikel Arteta saying, look, just give him time, just give him time. And then the rowdy Arsenal fans who are like, nah, go, go, go. It's quite hard to defend someone when you know what the smell in the room is, but you're trying to ignore it. And that smell gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And that smell is a bit of Mikel Arteta. It's the stuff he comes out of after the game. It's the things that he refuses to address, like in the team. The reason why he didn't buy strikers is because he believed that the goal should be shared amongst the squad. And now that smell is just awful. It is. Arsenal, with Andrea Berta, as a whole, don't think I'm giving Mikel Arteta a pass here. I'm just happy that he's not going to be involved when it comes to the final say, when it comes to what players are coming in. The dynamic is changing, it's just not coming out, okay? Andrea Berta is going to be the one in charge of who comes in and who's going from Arsenal. Mikel Arteta will be like, okay, yeah, I like him. Okay, yeah, if we can get him, let's get him. It's going to be it's a different power struggle from what Edu and Arteta had. Because beforehand, Edu and Arteta pretty much were on the same level in the sense of they were both novices. Andrea Berta now is more senior. They've got someone senior to come in to oversee this squad that is competitive but not winners. And this is what Arsenal need to do going into the summer, is buy 5, I would say 4 minimum, 5 maximum starting 11 players. You need a starting left back. We like Miles Lewis-Skelly, but we need a starting left back. A defensive midfielder, someone better than Thomas Partey. Is that going to be a Martin Zubimendi? Who knows? We need a left winger, better than Martinelli, better than Trossard. We need an attacking midfielder, better than Martin Odegaard. I like Martin Odegaard, but we need someone better as a real seeker, a real destroyer, and we need a striker. So that is 5 players. But 5 starting 11 players that will come in and make Arsenal from competitive to winners. And then the players that could go to the bench and still come on and impact the game would be a Miles Lewis-Skelly, would be a Thomas Partey, would be a Martinelli, would be a Martin Odegaard, and then will be a Kai Havertz. And if those 5 players are on the bench who are in the squad, that makes Arsenal better. I hope you can see where I come from when I said that. But what's your thoughts? Those are the 5 changes I want to see at Arsenal. 5 starters who come in to make Arsenal better. Okay, not a competitive team, but a winning team. Because Arsenal are just a competitive team right now. And I'm happy with that we compete and we're not just there halfway through the season going, oh, it's all over. This season it happened because, of course, what happened in the league. But I also want to see Arsenal with a bit more freedom on the pitch. I also want to see Arsenal be able to express themselves much more. Because yesterday, seeing Thomas Partey throw the ball like a spear was surprising to me and surprising to you, surprising to everyone in the footballing world that we have that in our locker and we never used it. The 13 draws that we had this season may not have been draws in the end of it. We may have only drawn, let's say, I'm not going to go crazy and say we wouldn't have drawn a game, but that 13 may have just gone down to, let's say, 4. We right now may just have 4 losses and 4 draws in this season in the league, meaning that even how bad we've been hit with injuries, we would have still been putting up a competitive front for the Premier League. Shit, we may be even leading the Premier League going into Liverpool's game right now if we could have used Thomas Partey's throw. I've never seen him throw the ball like that. Never. In all his time at Arsenal, I've never known he could do that. But Mikel Arteta has known he can do that, and yet he suppressed it until this game because it was so important. So that's the point where I'm saying, and I've been I've been doing this in all my shows, and if you've been watching my shows, you would know I've been saying Mikel Arteta has 1 more season left, which is next season. But the smell is getting so bad that I don't want to get so reactionary and say, okay, I can see the smell. No, not only can I smell it, I can see it, but I need to do something about it. But I'm being a bit lazy right now and saying, I might just leave it there for a bit longer until it gets to the point where I'm vomiting and I'm going to have to then dispose of it. But Josh and Stan, you guys have not got to the position that you have in life and in business that you have by not making those awkward decisions, which is you've got someone who can get you so far. They built you up. You're so happy. You've given them the resources to do so. They've got you so far. But to get to the next level, you have to make that change. You have to have that conversation saying, thank you so much for what you've done. You brought me here. You brought us up. I cannot believe it. We wouldn't be here without you. But we just need to get to the next level. And then on your CV, it still looks good for you because we're not saying we're firing, but they're saying we're parting ways. That ushers in the next person. So maybe that's the sort of conversation that needs to happen. Is, Mikel, thank you for everything. We're not going to fire you because we don't want to make it look like you was that rubbish, but it's to say we've just both come to the conclusion it's time for the next step. So it's not firing, it's just we're moving on and you need to move on and we're going to bring the next person in. Because Andrea Berta is here now and he can bring in 5 players who can add to this squad and make them from competitive to winners. Again, that's what I'm saying. I'm not doing the firing. I'm just saying a mutual decision that we both agree it's time to part ways. And maybe that is for this season. And why not for this season? Why wait another year when we may not even tie down Saliba? Because if Saliba doesn't sign his contract this season, you know for sure he's going to leave for free. Because he's not going to sign another contract with a year to go. He's going to say, nah, I've only got a year to go, buddy. I'm going to see this one out and walk away for free. That cannot happen. So I would rather say, let's tie down Saliba. Let's move on Mikel Arteta with a mutual consent. I'm not doing that crazy thing. And let's bring someone else in to get us over the line. And Josh and Stan, like I said, You are in a position because you know what to do. Us crazy fans will say a lot of stuff and they say, sack him. I'm saying mutual consent. The smell is getting a bit bad now. Okay? The smell is getting a bit bad and we know where it's coming from, but we're kind of saying, let's get to the point where everyone's vomiting, then we've removed the smell. Let's get rid of the smell now before we get to the vomiting point, because it is quite close. But anyway, what's your thoughts anyway so far this season? Last night I was giving it 6.5 out of 10, and people will start saying, that's why you ain't got to the 1,000 subscribers yet. That's why you ain't got to the watch hours just yet. But really, when I deep it's like a 4 out of 10. It's a 4 out of 10 because we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. The start of the season, I was saying I'd be happy with the Champions League. I was saying that Liverpool would win the league at the start of the season before the ball was even kicked, before I even saw Arne Slot for what he can do. You can go back and watch my shows. I did say it. It's no cap. I did say it. But this season, I'm thinking, let's go into the new season with a new manager and then add on 5 players to take this competitive team into a winning team. I'm just scared that Andrea Berta is going to give him 5 starting players and Mikel Arteta will still do his BS and still go ahead with Martin Odegaard, with a Kai Havertz up front, even though we brought in bad mans to do the job to get us to where we need to get to. That's my fear. Because if he can hold back the spear throwing Thomas Partey all season and then dish it out on this game, what else has he been holding back on all these players who could do so much? That's the fear I have. And again, it's not going crazy. There's no swearing from me. There's none of this stuff, these rants and raves and losing my head for people who do shows like this or people who do interviews afterwards. And sometimes that's where the fan base is just so divided because where I'm so positive and people say I'm so deluded. And the reason why I don't have so many subscribers is because I don't lose my head and start shouting, screaming and raving. You don't need to be that way to get your point across. You could be calm about it and just say, okay, the smell is bad. Let's remove the smell. Okay, we need these many players in. And the 5 players I'm talking about, we still keep them. You just usher them down onto the bench and then they can compete and help the team get over the line. Because when you bring in 5 starters and then when you can rotate, oh my goodness. Do you see my point now? You bring in 5 starters, you take the other 5 starters out of the picture, put them on the bench. You're not saying they're not good enough, but they are good enough to help the team compete. Meaning when we need to rotate and make subtle changes, we're bringing in quality players and saying, yeah, he's good enough to come in. But we know last night and all season and the last season and the season before that, the players that were on the bench were not good enough to take us over the line. But this time, we're going to have players that's going to come in and make us better, but still add on the players who are good enough anyway. So, what's your thoughts? Have I gone crazy? Am I crazy? Or are you crazy? Give me your thoughts on what your thoughts are on the season. Give me your thoughts on if 5 players, are those 5 players good enough? I didn't mention any names, but in the positions of having a left back, a centre mid, an attacking player, a left winger, and a striker. Just those 5 players would convince Edwin City to sign that new deal, would get us over the line finally to winning a domestic cup, a league, and a Champions League, at least get to the finals. And I think next year, that's got to be the remit of getting to the final of the Champions League, winning the Premier League, and winning a domestic cup. I want 2 trophies next year. I'm not being greedy. I'm just being truthful. I believe we can win a Carabao Cup and the league and get to the final of the Champions League and the semi-finals of the FA Cup. That to me is what I would like. That is what I would like. It's not what I'm saying I'm expecting. That is what I would like. But no doubt the league is what I'm expecting next year. And I would maybe more than likely like to see a new manager come in next year. I'm not saying we're sacking him. We're just having a conversation to move on to get to the next level. And that's a conversation every top brass entrepreneur does. Entrepreneur starts businesses, but to move on, they either recognize themselves, I need to bring someone else in to take my idea to the next level. and sometimes they have to remove themselves from it. And that's why Mikel Arteta should have to sit down with Josh and start having that conversation. Maybe I'm not the guy who can do it, but maybe Arteta's ego is so big that he can't do it. And that's why Josh may need to have that conversation and say, okay, Andrea, who do you know that could actually get this one over the line? With the players that we're about to spend money on, we're about to spend 350 million this summer. Who do you know that can take it on to the next level? Would you go after a Luis Enrique next season? Would you go after an Inzaghi next season? Would you go after a Fleck next season? These are the managers that are out there. And why would you not just test the waters and have a conversation? Why not? Anyway, I'm Tyne out here for TK 24 Sports.